Hello, everyone. My name is Evan Freiberger. We're going to be talking about this low pressure system that could move its way into the United States and bring some chances for severe weather. We're going to be giving you guys the new updates on what our models are saying on this. So make sure you pay attention. We actually got a lot of things to talk about. Before we get started, though, make sure you hit that like and subscribe button, as it does help us reach more people. Let's go ahead, get into it. But yeah, essentially across the western United States, we're going to be seeing this this lobe of high pressure over here in the northwest. That's eventually going to continue to kind of push across the United States, still bringing a little bit of warm air, but some cooler air is going to be expected up here in the Great Lakes, also going into the northeast. And then eventually we're going to have a low pressure system try to move across the country. And you see it kind of dies there as it moves into Oklahoma and Kansas. There's still a little bit of a severe weather threat with that guy, and that's going to be going into around 6 p.m. here on March the 2nd. And then all the way back here, we have another low pressure system working its way into California. And it's eventually going to be coming across our country here. And as that pushes into the Oklahoma area, that's going to be bringing up that moisture and that cooler and drier air around on the backside. And both of those things are going to kind of interact here to cause some potential severe weather, which I'm sure you guys are already aware of. But we do have some changes here in our models. First of all, let's look at our model trends here for our low pressure system as it ejects across the United States. And bringing this back, you can see that, believe it or not, this low pressure system is trending to be stronger here on the GEFS. So essentially what we're looking at here is a model that does a bunch of different model runs and then kind of smushes all of those solutions together. So it's kind of like a super model. Oh, not like that, not that kind of super model. But you get what I'm trying to say. It is a jack of all trades when it comes to model runs. And it's really good to look at these for events that are far out, get that average, kind of monitor the averages until you get under that 3-day range or around the 3-day range. And then you start to transition into more details on what's going to be possible. But essentially what this is saying is that there is going to be a low pressure system that's going to exist in this area. And looking at our average upper level winds here, you can see we definitely have a decent trough that's going to be coming down associated with this low pressure system. And that upper level wind is going to be kind of responsible here for our forcing that divergence aloft, the spreading apart of our wind barbs, which you can see we definitely do have that going on. We got a wind barb kind of going in this direction and then a wind barb down here going in this direction. So there's definitely going to be some forcing out there for some storms to fire off. And then also our lower level jet is also going to be pretty strong here as this kind of dips through this area. That lower level jet's going to bring up that moisture out of the Gulf of Mexico and interact with some of that cooler and drier air wrapping around the northern side of this, all the way down into where some of that divergence is. And that's going to allow for some updrafts to rise, those cumulonimbuses to rain a little bit. And eventually we're going to see that cause some thunderstorms, severe weather, and maybe even some tornadoes. If you look at the trends here on this as well, you can see that our trend has been going up and up here. Our latest trend here from our latest GEFS run is still showing the winds of this storm getting a little bit stronger, which would kind of make you think, if we look at the surface-based instability, we're probably going to have higher chances for more instability, giving more moisture transport. So let's go look at it and then compare it to our past trends to kind of get a view of what's going to happen here. So pushing this into the 4th here, you can see that we are going to start to see that moisture rise up here into Texas, going up into Oklahoma as well. Looking at our model trends for this area, you can see that this is actually a little bit of an uptrend here. If we go all the way back to some of our previous model runs and kind of run it through here, you can see it slowly starts to get a little bit more likely until we have pretty much the most likeliest scenario for some 500 joules per kilogram of some CAPE. And with some of the shear that we're going to be expecting with this storm, that's going to be enough to cause some tornadoes. We're going to kind of have a high CAPE, a little bit low, or not a high CAPE, sorry, a low CAPE, a little bit higher shear environment, which kind of makes up for that buoyancy that this instability might lack. But still a decent chance here for some severe weather on the 4th as we move into the morning, also into the evening as well, for some storms to fire and potentially have some severe weather and some tornadoes with that. Pushing this forward just a little bit more as this comes into areas like Arkansas and Louisiana, you start to see those percentages go a little bit further down to the south here. This is actually kind of a a new model trend. You can see as I bring this down into previous runs here, a couple days ago, we had a lot higher chance of there being some further north moisture transport all the way from the Gulf of Mexico going up into parts of Missouri. But then pushing this to today's run, you can see that that chance is a lot lower now for Arkansas and Missouri. So some differences here. Might have to wait another day here to see if this trend kind of hangs in there or if we see that moisture go back up to the north. If it doesn't change tomorrow, we are most likely going to see our severe weather risk area get shaved off a little bit to the south. Now, speaking of our severe weather risk area, this is what we have right now. So this is for a 15% chance for some severe weather. And as you can see, that would eventually end up being a slight risk if this were to hold on here, depending on what our trends are. And as you can see, it makes it all the way up into Arkansas and into Tennessee with a marginal that'll most likely extend a little bit further up to the north, which I still think is technically still a possibility. This is certainly a little bit of a south trend on our instability, and this just happened in tonight's runs going into this morning. So definitely going to be hard to tell whether or not that model trend is going to really change around too much, but just have to wait and see what happens tomorrow. We should be getting pretty close to that 5-day range as we get to the end of tonight, so hopefully we can get a little bit better information. Now, continuing to push this forward again, you see that trend really pushed down to the south. Eventually, as we get into the 5th here by around 6 a.m., that instability is almost receded all the way down to the coast there, and it really doesn't come back at all for the rest of the duration of this storm. So, again, if we come back into previous model trends here, you can see that we definitely had a higher chance for some moisture up here as we were looking at this a couple days ago, but that chance is getting lower and lower by the day, with still some surges up to the north on some of our model runs. So it's not a complete 0% chance. We're talking around the 10% chance up there, but our latest run has it almost 0% chance making it all the way up to North Carolina. So is that going to hold on? Are we going to see another resurgence of that moisture? It seems to be getting a little bit lower of a chance for that as well. So we'll have to see. We'll definitely know more tonight going into tomorrow as more models come out, and I'll definitely have another update on this again. But yeah, that's pretty much it for our severe weather. Definitely seems like some ingredients could be in place, especially back here in Oklahoma, the kind of the southern plains going into the Ozarks, and then maybe diving too far down or far down to the south there, to cause severe weather too far up to the north up here into parts of Tennessee. Hopping over to a more deterministic run here, we're going to be looking at our short term and mid range here. As you can see, we are going to have some snow possible all the way up there into the northeast as we go throughout the rest of this morning and into tomorrow. A little bit of a lake effect snow there as well. And then as we move into the 28th, kind of in the nighttime hours, we're going to see this low pressure system kind of dive down, start to cause some heavier snow in the morning hours of the 28th. And then by the nighttime, we're going to see that go up into the northeast yet again. So another little quick shot of snow. Again, we're not expecting too much out of that guy. And then we have a small severe weather chance still with this dude. I mean, we're right around the 4-day range here. So it's not completely out of the question that the models are somewhat accurate right now. So our instability is still kind of weak here. It's really not that strong. So, definitely not any big red flags there. Lapse rates, though, are also looking pretty weak, but enough to potentially support some severe weather. 500 millibar winds are looking not super weak. Definitely still some there. We're going to really need some lower level shear and some SRH to really get these storms going. And it does seem like there might be a little bit of extra vorticity in and around this storm, given what I'm seeing here in our lower level winds. Let's go check out a quick hodograph here and just kind of see what we're dealing with. Yeah, not a whole lot of cape in this area. Low dew points, lapse rates barely hanging on. A lot of turning with height, though. If we just get a little bit more unexpected heating here, we can get those temperatures up just a couple of degrees. This could certainly be a tornadic environment, but as of right now, the models really aren't pointing at that scenario. So it's still technically a day to watch, just given the sheer environment, but it should be hopefully not a really big deal. We might have a small tornado chance with this. Looking at the total snowfall, as you can see, still getting a little bit of a northern trend here on this kind of clipper system to kind of come through here. We're really not expecting too much more snow up here in the Northeast. It does kind of seem like, maybe a couple of inches to almost a foot of snow in some of our higher elevations, but on the lower elevations, you guys are really getting gypped here for really any meaningful snowfall. Same goes for up here in northern Michigan, a couple of inches to 7 inches possible, also in the UP of Michigan, and maybe a couple of inches there in northern Minnesota and Massachusetts, or not, sorry, northern Minnesota and Wisconsin. And also a little bit more additional snowfall over here in the Appalachians as well. Some lake effect snow over there near Erie. Still to come here, 2 to 4 inches possible over there as well. Model trend, though, on this storm continues, though, to kind of continue on that northern model trend. You can really see just over the past couple of model runs, it's really starting to push up for north and further north. So is there a chance that maybe northern Michigan, the UP of Michigan, and the Northeast kind of comes out of a little bit less snow? Yeah, I think that's probably possible for some of these snowstorms. So still going to watch the trends on these guys, but really not a whole lot of changes here. Now, a quick little update here on the temperatures. Still expecting tomorrow to be pretty warm across a lot of the southern plains, going up into the central plains, the Ozarks, and into the southeast with 60s happening there, and still pretty warm across the Ohio Valley, Great Lakes, pretty much all the way across the eastern portion of the United States and also in the southwest. As we move into the first, it looks like those temperatures are going to start to rise yet again in kind of the same areas, maybe a little bit colder up there in the Great Lakes and the Ohio Valley, but not too big of a difference. Moving into the second, though, you can definitely tell those temperatures will kind of retreat here a little bit into the southeast with a little bit warmer temperatures still hanging on up here into the northern plains, but really not a whole lot of change across Texas and the southwest there. And then also, as I continue to push this into the future, you can see that another warm up here for Texas is still expected, while the eastern portion of the United States cools down a little bit. But man, this is actually, I think, a little bit of an uptrend here in our temperatures. Let's go check that out. Yeah, a little bit, nothing too crazy, but man, those 66-degree temperatures possible up there in South Dakota at the beginning of March is definitely cooking up there for sure. Still kind of cold over here into the northeast as well on the 3rd here at around 3 p.m. And then those temperatures try to dip down, but then we get that heat kind of come back up out in front of our next low pressure system. So I'm definitely expecting a brief warm up out in front of that, really getting warm over there into Florida and the East Coast after that storm starts to move through. So that's kind of the whole picture there. A little bit cooler up there in the northeast, still staying kind of warm and comfortable down here in the southeast, with maybe getting a little bit uncomfortably warm up here in the northern plains. In terms of the wind gusts across the country, still expecting some pretty strong wind gusts over here off of the East Coast. Definitely, if you live over there near Nantucket in eastern Massachusetts, be watching out for anywhere from 30-mile-per-hour winds there in Massachusetts and Rhode Island. And then going off the coast here, we could have anywhere from 50 to 60-mile-per-hour winds. A little bit stronger winds are going to push down into the northern plains and then also trying to edge up here into the Great Lakes and the Ohio Valley. You can see widespread 30 to 40 mile per hour wind gusts up there, and then that's eventually going to dive down, still bringing some wind gusts down into the Ohio Valley as we move into the 28th, also pushing into the northeast as we go into 9 p.m. on the 28th, and then eventually the winds kind of calm down, still pretty windy up there in the higher elevations, and don't really see too big of winds until we get into about the second here, where we start to see some 20 to 30 mile per hour wind gusts there in the southern plains and the central plains, and then pushing this forward, you can see that wind kind of dies off. Another little intrusion here of some wind with that first severe weather chance. Nothing overall too crazy. Oklahoma, Nebraska might get some isolated areas of up to 40 miles per hour. And then eventually, as we get that bigger storm come through here, we got a more widespread area. Out in front of the storm, going to be seeing some gradient winds. And then along with that line could have some potential for some severe weather. Even if that instability is a little bit further down to the south, we could still easily get severe weather caliber type winds without the severe storm up here into Tennessee and Kentucky. And then that will move through the southeast and then eventually into the East Coast as we get into the 6th here, where we could again see some pretty strong winds either just off of the coast or just onto the coast, potentially 40 to 50 mile per hour wind gusts all the way from New Jersey up into Massachusetts as well. So pretty strong storm coming through those winds are only going to get worse potentially as we go into 6 a.m. on the 6th. So we got to watch out. But a lot of things are going to change about these winds. But so even though you're not getting any severe weather up there, there's definitely still a chance and a shot here for some dangerous, damaging winds, especially along the coast. You can definitely see some trees get knocked over, power poles knocked down, power outages as well. But that's going to be it for me, folks. That's the latest information on our upcoming severe weather, temperatures, and snow. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I hope you guys have a wonderful rest of your evening. And I will see you guys on the next video. Peace.